We're going to call this meeting to order at 6:02. It is Tuesday, February 25th. This is our business meeting. At this time, I'd like to welcome for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag will be led by Vero Beach High School Air Force Junior ROTC Detachment 043 under the direction of Wade E. Dews, Chief Master Sergeant, Aerospace, United States Air Force, and Dean Rasdell, Retired Major, United States Air Force. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Fantastic job. Can we show them how much we appreciate them? These young students come out every time that we have a meeting during the school year. It rotates back and forth between Sebastian and Vero Beach High School, and just amazing dedication that the staff has, and also our students. So we appreciate every time they come out. At this time, we are going to move on to the adoptions of the orders of the day. Are there any items that board members wish to move from consent to action? No? Dr. Moore, I believe you wanted to pull the African American Achievement Plan to action to discuss?
Through the chair, yes, ma'am, please.
Okay. Okay. And I know that we have members in the audience from our instructional calendar. Do we want to pull that to action so that we can just, formally thank them, or we can go ahead and do that during discussion? So, do you want to pull it to action? No? Okay.
I think we could add it to discussion,
Oh.
or just comment about it.
Okay.
I plan to
Perfect.
discuss it during the discussion portion of consent.
Okay. Perfect. All right.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can I add a discussion item that we talked about this afternoon?
Yes. So-
Workforce Housing Committee discussion?
Mhm.
Okay,
Under discussion.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, I need a motion with the amendments.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Mrs. Berenberg, and who was that? Rosario?
It doesn't.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion on those? No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. Okay, so we are going to move on to our presentations, and at this time, I'm going to recognize Dr. Moore so that he can go through the series of presentations that he has planned.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will turn this part of the presentation over to our district's public information officer to recognize and acknowledge members of our community. Ms. Maddox.
Hello, if everyone could please take your positions. Board members, we have a new setup here, so we're still getting used to the movement. If you'd like to join us in the audience, board members, for the presentations and the musical performance. And tonight, we are ready for Treasure Coast Elementary School. The 4th and 5th grade Treasure Coast Elementary School chorus, under the direction of Mr. John Hall, will be entertaining us tonight with One Nation and Thankful for the USA. And they are making their way out right now. They're very patiently waiting for their teacher. Good job, guys. So let's welcome the Treasure Coast Elementary School Chorus. Great job, everyone. Thank you. We'll give everyone just a moment to clear out, and if we have any staff members, you can come and take the seats in the front. Thank you, Mr. Hall. Wonderful job. The beatboxing especially, that was my favorite part. Okay, thank you for your patience as we just rearrange a little bit. Okay, so there's plenty of seats up front. Don't be shy. Okay, so next under presentations, we have our Casual Cause for a Cause organization from last month, and that was the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Although they're not here with us tonight, they will be with us at our next board meeting. But we wanted to mention that the district raised $3,674.85 for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and that was through the efforts of all of our students, teachers, and staff members. They dressed casually for a day in exchange for a donation to an organization that we set each month here. So thank you to the efforts that were put into that. And I just wanted to point out a couple of different schools. The primary school that raised the most money for that organization was Liberty Magnet Elementary School. They raised $337.60. And the secondary school was Storm Grove Middle School, raising $759.53. Of course, all of our schools made an effort. But I just wanted to point out those two schools as our top fundraisers. Next, we have a very special video that we've been holding on to. We went out to create this video after Crossing Guard Appreciation Day on February 12th, and we didn't really know what to expect because I haven't hung out with a crossing guard in the morning or the afternoon before. You just kind of drive by and you wave at them. But we went on duty with the crossing guards, and it's not an easy job. There are a lot of people that are turning right on reds in school zones, and there's a lot of kids who might not be listening and cars that are honking. It's all very distracting, but they do such an amazing job, and this is our video highlighting that day.
On February 12th, the School District of Indian River County celebrated National Crossing Guard Appreciation Day. Students and staff members showed up at their crossing guards posts to give them cards, hugs, and other special gestures of appreciation.
I've been a crossing guard for 3 years. I'm the first one they see when they leave home, and when they get here, I always say good morning to everybody, and I just really like seeing the kids.
I like being a crossing guard because I love the kids and I love people. It's really wonderful, and it really makes me get up and want to come to work because I love my kids.
I love all the kids. I love when they come and I'm the first person they see, what a smile on my face. I think it's good for the kids to know the proper technique to cross the street, and we're here to do that to make sure they get to school safe and the kids feel safe now. So when we're not here, they know what to do.
I like it. It is something to get to know people, to meet people, and be a part of the people. The parents and the students, we all have a good rapport. I enjoy doing it.
Our crossing guards are a vital part of our school community. Thank you to all of our crossing guards, our unsung heroes, for keeping our most vulnerable pedestrians safe every day.
So I see Mr. Warner out there. Mr. Warner was in our video. And do we have any other crossing guards with us tonight? Anyone else? Well, Tina Marie was also in our video, and she was here at the last board meeting along with all the other Indian River County crossing guards, and we recognized Tina and everyone else, but Tina received our State Crossing Guard of the Year award, so we're very proud of her, and Sebastian Elementary School nominated her, so she was recognized by the state, and that's pretty cool. And it's really neat that we can watch a video like this, and we're a small enough community that we know the faces. We might not know the names, but Nana at Citrus, who doesn't know Nana at Citrus? You know, I drive by her frequently. And of course, Mr. Warner, he worked at VBE when I was a student there, and I tell that story probably too much. But it's really cool to see the faces, and I know I drive by the Oslo intersection now down Oslo Road and see Miss Brenda and Rocco now that we know them. So just again, congratulations and thank you to all of our crossing guards. Next, I'd like to ask, no, I'm not going to ask you to come up yet. Sorry, Jason. That's next. We have our National CTE Month video, and if you didn't know, this is CTE Month, Career and Technical Education, and it takes place each February to celebrate the value of CTE and the achievements and accomplishments of the CTE programs across the country. And we're very thankful that our teachers invited us in very quickly. I don't want to say the last minute notice, but we've had this idea for a video for a while, and we knew we just had to get it done for this month with it being CTE month. So thank you to the teachers who were very flexible and invited us into their classrooms and allowed this to happen.
In a nutshell, career and technical education is about providing opportunity. Ultimately, what we try to do is provide students the entry point into whatever field they choose after high school, be it going to college and putting to work the certifications and the skills that they learned in high school, or directly entering the workforce, or even attending a Treasure Coast Technical College or a 2-year program.
Career and technical education is important because it teaches kids the real-world work experiences that they need when they leave high school and beyond. Things like communication and problem solving, decision-making, teamwork. All of our career tech programs teach those types of skills that you wouldn't necessarily always get in a regular classroom.
For a lot of us, especially those that are interested in majoring in business when you get older, it's like able to give us a very hands-on experience. We deal with finance, we deal with marketing, customer service, and basically everything that goes into a business, and so it's just really involved.
Well, really, career and technical education is the heartbeat of America. And really, our goal here is that the students leave here as entry-level technicians. We push our students to get industry certifications. They actually can leave our program with 9 different industry certs. Without students or people wanting to work in these fields, we would stop as a nation.
It's a great experience, really. It teaches you skills like teamwork, customer service, dealing with customers, and problem solving as well. That's probably my favorite thing.
32% of high school graduates do not go directly to a 4-year university to achieve a college degree. We've got to start recognizing the fact that there is a larger portion every year of students who are choosing to recognize the value of career and technical education as opposed to achieving a 4-year degree.
On Treasure Coast Technical College, we focus on workforce development. Our students range from seniors, the majority are in their low to mid-20s, and then we have some adults that are in their 30s. I think for a lot of people, the traditional colleges just aren't a fit. They can find an area that really helps them and might give them a career long term.
First and foremost, what we do is we look collectively at our programs and how they fit both state and regional demand for the workforce. We have brand new programs going in which will be signature high school programs, meaning that it gives them the opportunity to provide the choice to students as to where they want to go. We're providing students that opportunity to make those career choices and pathways, and that's what CTE is for.
Do we have any of our CTE teachers in the audience tonight besides Mr. Rue? Oh, please stand to be recognized. Thank you. So So a couple of things I just wanted to point out about the video is that we actually had our students at Sebastian River High School print all of our shirts for the Stars of the Year Gala, and they did a wonderful job with that work. And also the virtual welding that's over at Treasure Coast Technical College. I hold the record for district staff for virtual welding. I think they have a plaque up. They don't? Okay. Anyway, so I would like to introduce Jason Keeler. He is the Director of Career and Technical Education. He's going to tell us a little bit about CTE in our district and then introduce someone very special to read the CTE proclamation for us tonight. Jason.
So one might say that Kristen's made a dubious career choice by offering me a microphone, no script, and no time constraints. However, with that said, I'll be respectful of everyone else. I just want to take a couple of minutes here. You know, this year I'm incredibly proud of the fact that 2 of our district teachers of the year came from our CTE programs. And at Treasure Coast Technical College, Mr. Mosblack, Brian Mosblack, who is the welding teacher, and a gentleman who I'm going to introduce to you here momentarily, Garrett Rue at Sebastian River High School, whom you saw in the video. We're extremely proud of the work that our teachers do with our students, and those of you who've heard me talk about career and technical education before have heard me use the example of my own children as to how career and technical education provides an entry point for every student leaving high school into the workforce. I have a daughter who's currently in college and is what does she do? Oh, that's right, accounting, as I look at the accounting teacher. I have a daughter who's an accounting major in college and has taken the skills and the certifications that she earned in high school with her to pursue a 4-year degree. Conversely, I have a son in high school right now who is in the automotive program at Vero Beach High School and looks to put his skills to work immediately after high school. So that is, in a nutshell, exactly what career and technical education is meant to be. It is meant to provide all of our students an opportunity to enter the workforce where they want and when they're ready to. And with that said, I know that we have a proclamation to be read tonight, and I would like to introduce to you a man that I'm incredibly proud of, not only because of the fact that he was our Teacher of the Year at Sebastian, but you know, we have, the one thing that is different perhaps about career and technical education is, I don't know about other principals and managers of programs within our district, but I get calls every day from my teachers saying, hey, I would love to do more. I would love to have more opportunity to do more things with my students. Garrett is relentless. He can't wait to grow his program and serve as many students as he can with his automotive program at Sebastian River High School. And that, to me, is sometimes unique because I'll be honest with you, when I was teaching social studies, I don't ever remember calling my principal and saying, you know, I could really use another 20 kids in my world history class right now. But that is something we see every day in our field, and it's because of the passion that these people bring with them from industry every day. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Garrett Rue, who's going to read our proclamation.
Board members, would you please come back to your seats prior to the proclamation?
So thank you for everything. So proclamation designating the month of February 2020 as Career and Technical Education Month. Whereas Florida has a bold vision for a bright future and is essential our children are provided with a strong foundation, world-class education. And whereas Florida Department of Education is committed to providing the highest standard of education in the nation. And whereas career and technical education contributes to America's leadership in the international marketplace and offers individual lifelong opportunities to learn new skills, expand career choices, and career satisfaction. And whereas in 2019, Governor DeSantis issued an executive order 19-31 beginning the process to make Florida the #1 state in the nation for workforce education by 2030, ensuring Florida students are prepared to fill high-demand, high-wage jobs of today and the future. And whereas expanding career opportunities for our students and increasing Florida's investment in career and technical training programs, apprenticeships is paramount to the success of our state.
And whereas Florida Pathway to Career Opportunities grant programs provided grants to 36 institutions to create and expand apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeship programs. And whereas Florida students have earned over 130,000 industry certifications and more than 61,000 digital tool certifications. And whereas Career and Technical Education Month in Florida is an opportunity to educate Floridians about career opportunities available and ensure all students are able to acquire the knowledge and learn the skills needed to provide for their families. Now therefore, be it proclaimed by the School Board of Indian River County that the month of February 2020 be designated as Career and Technical Education Month in Indian River County, adopted this day, 25th day of February 2020.
Thank you. Board members, I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Dr. Schiff with the first and Mrs. Justice with the second. Would you like to speak to your motion, Dr. Schiff?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for what you bring to the district, for the opportunities that you provide to our kids. I'm going to, shamelessly promote Mr. Rue because my son is committed to being his favorite student. He loves that class. But thank you to everyone who creates opportunities and pathways for our students in ways that academia doesn't always support, and gives kids opportunities to excel in ways that traditional pathways don't always. So I thank you for that, and I thank you for your enthusiasm, I thank you for your commitment, I thank you for your resilience, and I thank you for your passion for what you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Justice.
Yes, thank you very much. As a board member, I've had the opportunity to be able to tour some of our career and technical programs at our respective high schools. It's been a really cool experience, and I'm sure if there are community members or parents who'd like to be able to come and visit some of those programs and see what those are about, that our teachers would welcome that. Mr. Rue is extremely passionate about his craft and sharing his love of automotive and mechanics with his students, and it's awesome. So thank you for what you do every day. Thank you to all of our teachers for inspiring our students and sharing their gifts with them.
Board members?
They said it well. Thank you.
Mrs. Rosario? No?
100%, I concur with my fellow board members. CTE is a well-needed focused area in our community, in the state of Florida, and I look forward to more opportunities of growing in this area for sure. But thank you very much.
Absolutely.
He's my favorite.
You're hiding.
He's hiding.
I look forward to celebrating February as Career and Technical Education Month every year. It's something that I'm very passionate about because I'm having children, with various interests. Not all my children have been college bound, but having that trades to go out and work in the local community is so important for us to offer all the kids here in Indian River County. It's actually something I'd like to see expand into our middle schools, and hopefully we can dive into that conversation in the near future so we can make it happen. But I just want to say thank you for all that you do. With that, board members, I'm going to call for a vote to accept the proclamation. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay,
And that concludes presentations for tonight.
thank you.
Mrs. Zork, I'd like to ask if I could have some help from staff. I'm having some technical difficulties with board docs, and I was wondering if Mr. McDonald might be able to take a look and help me so that I can.
Okay.
I've chosen to go paperless, and apparently this is one of the issues that we can address.
We're going to take a brief recess for about 5 minutes, and we'll come back
Thank you.
here. Okay. Thank you. At 6:42, we had to take a short break for technical difficulties. I'm sorry, I'm getting a call probably from Vero Beach High School about upcoming events.
Okay, that's good, I hope.
No, sorry. I typically don't like to have my phone up here, but it is time for our citizen input. So we have a few speakers that have signed up. First, we have Alexander Bean, Chloe Rizzo, Coletta Murray, and Dr. Ida Miller. So in those orders, I'd love to welcome you to the podium. In our citizen input, we have 3 minutes, so welcome.
Hello, my name is Alexander Bean. I go to Storm Grove as an 8th grader, and this is my 2nd year there. I have come here to express the problems we have in the band program. I am a trumpet player, and I am proud to be one. I enjoy all my peers in band, but we have issues that we cannot resolve and is affecting our playing. With the music performance assessments right around the corner, our playing is a catastrophe because the students are being disruptive. Mr. Shrigley, our band director, enjoys teaching us, but he hates when we are distracted to where we can't even play on a daily basis. No playing means no practice, and no practice means bad performance. Mr. Shrigley is worried for us, feeling that we are going to get a bad score. Since this is the band FSA, our class needs help, and Mr. Shrigley is trying his best to fix it. With all the bad kids in our class, Mr. Shrigley tries to do something with them since he can't kick them out of the band or make them change classes. I have been worried about it too, since it affects me and my future as a trumpet player. If our class gets a good rating or a C, it would be Mr. Shrigley's first C, and that wouldn't be a good reflection on him since he is a superior band teacher. He has never had a band this bad in his career, not just when he was at Storm Grove. Also, it is not just in this class, it is in the intensive reading class I take as well. Many kids disrupt the class for the same reason we have in band, distractions. Many kids have cell phones, and most of the kids in that class use them all the time. Ms. Petrowski does assign lunch detentions, but the kids still think of it as a joke. That is all I have to say this evening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, Chloe. Good evening. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Chloe Rizzo. I'm a 7th grade student attending Storm Grove Middle. This is my 2nd year. Since I've been there, I have dealt with many issues. Last year, when I was in 6th grade, I was going to my last class of the day when one of my peers grabbed me by the throat and then grabbed my butt. I felt extremely threatened, and when I went to my assistant principal with my problem, I didn't feel like the problem was addressed properly. He told me that on the cameras there was no evidence because it was out of view, that he would talk to the student, but nothing had really been done. I no longer felt safe at school. I'm not the only girl who had reported something like this. And not long after that, a group of girls started to threaten me. I had to be escorted to my bus and in between classes. Because the girls told me that they would fight me. Once again, I did not feel safe. I cried to my mother because I did not want to go to school because I was afraid to get beat up. The whole summer, I dreaded going back to school. I even asked my mother to be homeschooled. These girls told me if we didn't fight on the last day, they would attack me on the first day of school the following year. They didn't attack me, but they proceeded to threaten me and shove me in the cafeteria. This eventually stopped, but I know it's because they moved on to somebody else. So now somebody else no longer feels safe. This year, recently, kids have been stabbing each other with tacks. Not to forget about the everyday behavioral issues that distract students who are trying to learn. And in the cafeteria, there's also been instances where people have been vaping in front of the teachers and in the cafeteria. And it's clear that the teachers' hands are tied and unable to discipline the students properly. This situation makes it extremely hard for me and my peers to learn. My parents moved my brothers and I based on the good ratings of the school, and I would like to fulfill my education without distractions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Thank
Chloe.
you. Thank you.
I want to thank both students for having the opportunity and courage to come up and sharing, and I'm going to ask that you meet and discuss some of your concerns and issues and find some resolutions with our Deputy Superintendent, Mr. Scott Bass.
Thank you. Mrs. Murray, and then Dr. Miller.
Good evening, Board and Dr. Moore. I just want to let you know how positive this year's calendar committee was. I have been serving on the calendar committee for over 11 years, since it was in the old building. So I've seen many different experiences. This year here was extremely collaborative. We were excited to be there. And even just in conversing with the parents and that were part of it, they are looking forward to next year. We do feel that this is one of the best calendars that we've had out there in a long time, that we did put out a survey. Thank you to Dr. Soot, who actually vetted us very well, kept us well informed, and kept us on our norms, so that this was able to be a nice process for all concerned. There were a lot of first-year people in it. Most of the time, we usually have 3 or 4 people.
And they're here with you.
Yeah. But I would say we had anywhere from 12 to 20 people at any given time, far more than what we've ever had in the past. And I just want to say that I was pleased to see it being brought up. I understand there are we did what we could do, because we did have a survey out there. We had over, I think it was 300 plus responses. We tried to address all. We spent one whole hour-and-a-half meeting doing every single one, and then we came up with a checklist of why we chose this, so that they understand that we did listen to them and we did want to honor their information. So I did just want to say thank you for approaching on the calendar, and we're very excited for this and for moving forward with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Miller? Dr. Miller?
I did better over there. Okay, so good evening. I'm back. My name is Dr. Miller. I am going to be hated after this because I'm really going to speak to you guys. I am here again to speak on the point that Storm Grove Middle School needs immense help, immense help. Thank you for the temporary behavior person in Storm Grove. Mrs. Walker, she's in my class, 6th and 7th period, all period. She's very good, and she already has built a rapport with the students, which is a big deal in that class. Please make her temporary stay permanent, because she's amazing. She's already built a huge base with the students. They trust her. And again, as long as my students feel safe with her, that's amazing. The days are getting more and more beautiful. So, right next door, walk over to Storm Grove during 6th grade lunch around 11 a.m. and witness the absurdity that happens every single day. Please do not announce yourselves. Walk in the bus loop gate and just stand there and watch, quietly. Become a fly on the wall. I appreciate the fact that a group came over the day after the last meeting. However, if you really wanted to solve a problem, come over after lunch. Come when the students start misbehaving. I did not expect the group would stay for a couple of hours and go. That will not solve a single problem. I'm not sure why, but I appreciated that they came. I saw them in my classroom. That was huge hope. Have lunch in our cafeteria. Stay and have a focus group with the students. Ask our amazing students questions. Ask them how they feel in their school, how they're not safe, how the teachers are not safe. I'm basically giving you a roadmap with the road highlighted that you should take. The day after the last board meeting that I attended and spoke at, a student came to my room and thanked me for speaking. The sweet little girl that came to my room is not my student, and I cannot mention how much I appreciated her saying, "Thank you for what you did at the school board." That gave me more resolve than ever to be the person that pushes for help, and we get it. Teachers hugged me and said thank you. They're too afraid to come to this school board meeting to speak. So the meeting after I left saying, okay, it's okay, no, it's not. They know their annual teachers. They know their contract can be yanked, and their principal will yank it in 2.2 seconds. I'm continuing contract. I've been here forever and a day. I'll probably be buried on the grounds of Storm Grove. But students are entitled to learn in a safe environment. Start making schools safe for the students to thrive in their education. Stop concentrating on teachers in the classroom and start focusing on the principals that aren't handling the behaviors that are causing morale and problems. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize if I sound rude, but I'm very passionate for my students in their learning environment, so I will be back in a month if things don't improve at our school.
Thank you. Thank you.
So this time I'll stay and answer questions if need be.
Thank you, Dr. Miller.
Through the chair, I don't have any questions for you. I would like you to meet with Mr. Meyer, who you've met with. He was in your classroom,
Yes.
as well as Ms. Dampier. Well aware of the opportunities to improve and the opportunities to support, and ensuring that every student walks into Storm Grove Middle School. Every teacher walks into Storm Grove Middle School. They feel safe, they feel comfortable, they feel warm, and they feel loved. And that's a commitment on multiple people's parts in order to ensure that we all stand up and do what needs to be done. We share something when we see something that is alarming or concerning. There is an expectation in this district, there's an expectation established by this board, and we all need to work collectively in order to ensure that we uphold that expectation. But Mr. Meyer, we'll have a brief conversation with you and give some follow-up points for you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so that was the last speaker that we had, or Dr. Miller was the last speaker that we have signed up. We're going to move to our consent agenda approval for this. I need a motion for approval.
Move approval.
Second. Okay. Mrs. Justice?
Yes, thank you very much. Tonight, we will be, in our consent agenda, we are approving the instructional calendar. I want to say thank you to Mrs. Murray and all of the other members of the instructional calendar committee for the work that they have done. New members that have been serving for a long time, is extremely important work, and work that needs to be collaborative in nature so that we're trying to meet the needs of teachers and students and families in our community. I've been heartened by the discussion regarding Veterans Day. It was an issue that kind of went back and forth, and it seems that we've come to a good solution for this year. We'll be educating our students regarding Veterans Day. I'm excited to see some of the different programs that happen in schools, and if you have an opportunity to watch our workshop today, we discussed the instructional calendar and Veterans Day and how it will be addressed in the school district of Indian River County with the blessing of the Veterans Council, who we work very closely with. Tonight, in approving the calendar, we're also improving modified instructional days. This may sound like a new term to you. It's also known as early dismissal days. It can also be known as early release days, which we do not say anymore, but children are released from school at a certain time, or dismissed from school to their homes at a certain time, and Dr. Moore highlighted some issues today with modified instructional days. There are certain barriers to us being able to make those changes currently right now. But I have been encouraged by the collaborative efforts of Dr. Moore, our teachers union, our parents, our families, our community stakeholders, in working together to problem solve how we move through modified instructional days to full school days for students. I'm always happy to see that Dr. Moore's decision-making is best by kids, and I'm encouraged that next year I am fingers crossed hoping that we will see an instructional calendar that no longer has modified instructional days as part of our students' time in our schools. We lose, I'm sorry, Dr. Moore, how many days of instruction do we lose? Did we discuss? how many hours?
There's 10 days that are under that modified schedule.
There are a number of days, and it's a number of hours, and we know that students need to be in classrooms in front of teachers, learning at every possible moment that we have with them. So again, instructional calendar looks great for this year, and I am hopeful, I'm cautiously optimistic for the future.
Thank you, Mrs. Justice. Dr. Shipp?
Mrs. Justice said most of it, but I want to thank Mrs. Murray for coming out and acknowledging that process. Mr. Murray spoke to us last week and also mentioned some things that were working well, and it is, while we are far from out of the woods, it's really nice to hear that as we move forward and as we start to transform this district, that some things are working well. So thank you for letting us know when that's happening, and thank you, Mrs. Murray, for mentioning that you've been on this committee for 11 or 12 years. A, thank you for that. B, for acknowledging that this is the best you've ever seen it go. That's not nothing. So while as we move forward, there are things we may want to continue to address in this in the calendar, good to know that the process is working and that none of this is ever static, right? Because we did it for this year doesn't mean that it's not dynamic and evolving towards next year. So thank you to everybody, towards the camera, anybody who's watching, for being part of that committee. And as I keep saying, for working collaboratively with the district. When we work collaboratively, we get a lot more done than when we work antagonistically or adversarially. So thank you for your contribution to that. Thank you for everyone who was on the committee. Thank you, Dr. Moore. Thank you, staff. And I'm looking forward not only to finishing out a great year this year, but to have an extraordinary year next year. That took longer than I thought it would.
Can I comment? Other than thanking everybody, because it's already been said, but I will say kudos to those teachers that called or emailed with concerns about this year's hurricane days. And then I reached out to them and said, hey, be part of the solution, and they did. They came and they were part of the team this year. And I think once you see it from the side of how hard it is to put a calendar together, I think you see a different view, and you're part of the solution now, and you have the ability to change things. And so I appreciate the people that did that actually came out and were part of the solution. So thank you for doing that. I appreciated the fact that I could come in and sit in a couple of times, and I was really, really so happy to see that they were taking every single comment that came through and discussing it, making that fact sheet. So I appreciate the time. I do have a concern also with modified days, but I do honor teachers' contract. To me, that's extremely important that we honor what has already in place. So I understand the frustration that's happening with those days, but I do know we have a contract in place this year, so I will be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Rosario? Or?
No, ma'am.
No? Okay. No, I want to thank also the committee members that are in the room tonight. Thank you for coming. And I do agree, it's in my 3.5 years, it seems to be the most, and not meaning any disregard to the work of the committees before, but it seemed like a very great process. And I had let Dr. Moore know and anyone that was looking for the minutes from those meetings to see how thorough the committee was. That is now on our district website under committees. You can find instructional calendar, and those minutes will be posted there if you want to go back. I think what's so important about the participation is because unfortunately back during when we had to come up with our hurricane makeup days, we as a board went ahead when Dr. Moxley was here, we utilized one of the makeup days that was recommended from the instructional calendar committee, and then whenever we utilize that day, we come under fire. Why are you using this day? And well, it was the work of the committee from the previous year that had come up with this, and so we're just following that recommendation, and that is exactly why I think we had such a excellent turnout this time of teachers, parents, and district staff. So thank you for that. We're still into consent. I do want to make mention bring to your attention that we do have an amendment number 4 for our general fund. And I'm proud to say that we are at 5.27% fund balance. So we're in a healthy position right now. And I would recommend for community members to go to this amendment that we have on here to help explain where we are currently. This is a snapshot of where we are with our general fund. So I would recommend, I believe there might be some type of information coming out, but I want you to make sure that you read the information that we have here to help follow what that is. That is all I have to say. Dr. Moore?
May I ask, I don't, you said there was some information coming out. I don't know I don't know any information.
Well, I was asked how to explain the general fund, where we are with our fund balance. So I had directed the person to go to the sheet,
Okay.
and but sometimes it's easier just to look at how our finance chief financial officer has laid it out, because it's a very complicated process. So that's what I meant by that. So we're going to go ahead and vote to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. Have a question?
I wanted to acknowledge, I think discussion passed, but I sort of missed this moment, that we had a long conversation today about the African American Achievement Report. Oh, you're going to talk about that,
we're
never mind.
in action, yes. We
Oh,
have
oh,
moved that
duh,
to action.
never mind, sorry, forgot, you're right.
You didn't miss anything. You're good. Still coming.
Got it, never mind.
Okay. So we are moving over to, sorry, we have a lot of
Forgot we
consent
moved that.
agenda items. Okay, so we're gonna move to action, and we did move one item over, and that was the African American Achievement Plan. And I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. How appropriate the talent that was here, our student talent that was here this evening, began our presentation with a song, "We Are One Nation, United We Stand." I read it, I did not sing it, because they did a much better job than I could, yes, thank goodness. How appropriate when we listened to the CTE video that one of the instructors said, "If it wasn't for these careers, the world would stop." And how true and how powerful is that statement? I say how appropriate because tonight we're having two separate conversations around equity. One, a policy that will be coming for approval, and then second, the opportunity to approve the African American Achievement Plan. I will briefly run through a presentation that highlights the work that we've been doing over the last several months in order to ensure that we have one comprehensive, united voice, united plan regarding the work that we'll be doing to move us forward, not only as a district, but as a community. This focus is on all students.
Is that not working?
My eyes are not working.
Oh, okay.
Clicker's fine.
And the fact that I've given this presentation so many times. We wanted to ensure that we spoke through high expectations, that a plan that we were developing, a new plan, a newly designed plan, was designed with the high expectation that all children can learn in all classrooms, in all schools across the community. We wanted to ensure that we spoke and highlighted equity. This is a plan that speaks through the African American Achievement Plan, but begins an ongoing conversation in a very bold and aggressive way regarding equity in our schools and in our community. We are not here just to talk through equity because of the African American Achievement Plan. We're not here to talk through equity because of a joint order. We're here to talk through equity because it's an issue that needs to be addressed. This is an opportunity under the leadership of this board to pull back the curtain, bring a level of awareness regarding certain conversations, certain realities within our community that we need to address. We need to fully understand. We need to reflect, think through, and then design a plan to move us forward as a community. We want to be transparent. We want to have conversations with the community where we're not shading information or skewing it one way or the other. We want to use data, as I have often said, as our superpower. In order to do so, it has to be done in a transparent way. Data will allow us to get to the root cause when we have a willingness to truly and openly and honestly evaluate that data. Accountability. I speak on request accountability from this board in regards to the commitments and areas of improvement that I speak through as we move through what is my 90-day plan and the opportunities to evaluate me in the coming years. I thrive on the opportunity to be held accountable. I understand the power and purpose of accountability. And I could not ask it for any teacher, any staff member, if I didn't ask for it to be placed on me as well. And accountability is the opportunity to learn, evaluate, shift, and modify practice based on that learning. And then finally, collaboration. Not doing this work in isolation, not doing this work because it is a simple task that needs to be done. It is the opportunity for us as an organization, as a community, to collaborate through this work. Just a brief history on where we have been over the last several months and where we will be going in the coming years. Last November, we put together the first draft of what was the plan that would be submitted to the courts in response to our first year of implementation of the Joint Equity Plan. The plan was submitted in December. In January, I was called along with the president of the NAACP to go to a federal courthouse and provide an update to a judge. That response was opportunities to answer questions to her and a commitment that was made by this on behalf of me to the judge in response to the expectation that the school board has set, as well as the NAACP, that there is a willingness for us to work together collaboratively, transparently, holding ourselves accountable to design and implement a plan that would move us forward as a district. And coming back, it was an opportunity for me to work with staff and work with the Joint Committee in the establishment of what would be our community plan. Not the district's plan, the community's plan. And we went through a long, arduous process under the leadership of Ms. Dampierre, who has been a true warrior in getting this information together and taking opportunities to pull staff together multiple times, to listen to feedback from the members of the Joint Committee multiple times. It has been a body of work that has been grueling to put together in terms of the amount of time. But each and every single time, as a result of that commitment to have that conversation, the plan became more specific. The plan became more of the community's plan. We began to build a sense of transparency. We began to build a sense of collaboration. We began to define opportunities to hold ourselves accountable for the action in which we will be implementing. It was a great start in the process that was followed to design the plan. But now it's time to implement the plan. And the plan is designed in a way to begin implementation, and as a result of that implementation, reflect through that implementation, evaluate the impact of our actions quickly to shift or modify that practice to continually improve. I told the board this morning, as I have in multiple community meetings, when we bring this plan back for approval over the summer to be implemented for the following school year, if it isn't completely different, that means that we didn't actually implement the plan. As we implement an action step, we just don't simply put a check in a box. We evaluate that implementation. We reflect on that implementation. We examine ourselves and we examine our actions to identify how do we shift, how do we modify, how do we reorganize ourselves to yield the best outcome for our students. In this plan, will begin to evolve and create and become very specific at school sites as we begin to implement. I will talk through some shifts that are in this plan. There is a high level of accountability in this plan. If a staff member's name is identified in this plan or a principal is identified by position in this plan, it becomes part of their final evaluation and their midterm evaluation, part of their evaluation process. It's that important. Accountability at all steps throughout the organization. Increased transparency. In a moment, we'll go and examine our webpage. We're actually going to go live and give a quick demonstration regarding our desire to continue to build transparent practices and use data to be kind of at the forefront of that transparent conversation. Monthly updates. I will provide monthly updates, keeping this board informed, as well as the community, as well as the joint committee, regarding the implementation of this plan and how this plan is growing as we learn through implementation. All schools will establish their own specific strategies and goals and action steps within their own school improvement plans. So in previous years, this may have been seen as the district plan. Absolutely not. We will ensure that this is a part of each and every school's school improvement plan, that is embedded into their plan, and it is they are held accountable for implementation. We are continuing to establish systems and structure around the use of data. We've had 2 very deep conversations with our principals regarding the use of data, and in those conversations are opportunities to drill down to teacher, drill down to student performance, connect teachers and students to instructional practices in order to really have deep conversation and understanding where there is disparity and where we need to hold ourselves accountable or shift or change practice. So we're incorporating very, very deep levels of data disaggregation with principals multiple times a year. Each secondary principal will create an African American student council. This is an opportunity for principals to meet with their customers, speak through the feelings that students have, the impact that the implementation plan is having on those students, to quickly learn and assess the impact at that particular school, to make very unique changes or shifts to modification based on what they learn from listening to their students. We will ensure counselors, secondary counselors, meet with their African American students at least quarterly. And we had conversations here about, is that enough? And the answer to the question is, if the student is experiencing difficulty, or the student is falling behind academically, or the student is missing school, then the answer is no. It's not enough. But as a result of that point of accountability, the expectation is at that school site plan, there's additional strategies identified to ensure that we're taking the appropriate steps so we lose no students. We will look at our tiered implementation of support, RTI, multi-tier systems of support, in order to ensure that we're not quickly rushing students to being identified as having a exceptionality or placed in the ESE program, ensuring that we're implementing interventions with fidelity and that we're empowering kids with the skills and the abilities that they need to find success in the classroom without having to be labeled. And there is data that says that we can do that significantly better. As I've mentioned on multiple occasions, our district average is about 5% higher in terms of students identified within ESE than that of the state average. So there's opportunities to improve there. Moving forward, there are opportunities to continue to keep the community informed. We will be submitting in March, step 2, a joint status to the courts regarding the work that we've been doing. We've been doing a great deal of work, as I have just mentioned, to the courts. When we get our results back at the end of this school year, we'll have a conference, 2-day conference, where we really sit with the Joint Committee, disaggregate the data that we have in terms of outcomes, really have deep dialogue and conversation regarding that reality, and use the information over the course of that 2 days to craft what will be the new plan that needs to be approved prior to the opening of schools. Then in September, yet another status report, and then once again in December, we provide an annual report to the court. I say that in terms of steps moving forward. This is an ongoing, living and breathing document in which we will have constant communication and dialogue on. We will see the shifts and changes in the growth of this plan as we speak through month to month regarding its implementation. We will learn together through implementation. We will have some conflict. We will have some conversations regarding certain areas that we are failing or falling short. But we only truly fail when we're not willing to have the conversation, or we're not willing to engage in the dialogue, and we're not willing to take the necessary or bold steps in order to correct and modify the program to ensure that we're designed in a way that all students are provided with meaningful instruction each and every single day. So I will quickly come to a point in this presentation where I'm going to turn it over. A lot of conversation and dialogue around transparency and how we're using data to fully understand the problem. This is a sample of the web page that we have here. It is a screenshot of that. It has all of the historical information on it. It has information or data on it that allows you to begin to compare us as a district using multiple data points. This is the EdStats, which simply links you to pre-K 12. If you look at the blue arrows there, it pulls you into the opportunity to drill down, to move to actual student data. That is a lot of clicks and it's a lot of information, and if you're not familiar with that, it can become confusing and not really sure what you're looking at, and that's not what we want. There are people who have different sets and different skill sets or understandings around data. We want to provide data in multiple formats that can be understood by anyone who is looking. So this is the progress report that we have established. This is the information around the areas that I will be providing updates to the board. And as you can see here, it is extensive. We have identified a number of progress measures, linked those progress measures to the action steps, the barriers, as well as the goal area, as well as the frequency in terms of monitoring. It is a lot of information. That's just one area. Those are the next two areas, and then finally the fourth area. So this data at itself is extremely overwhelming. In some cases, when you're looking at data that would be described as at a 30,000 level view, it is not as specific or as informative as we would like it to be. This is a completion log. This is a tool that we will use at school sites and as the district. It is listed by date of completion. This is to ensure that we do not miss a step in terms of implementation. It is just presented to you in terms of how thorough we are being, how intentional we're being in terms of implementation. Every step is identified in order by date. Once again, implementation will ensure that we are learning as we are implementing. I want to go back quickly to the progress report. I'm going to ask Brian McMahon to take his position. I asked him quickly just to give a small example. Sometimes when you look at a stagnant screen, it doesn't give you the depth in which we're attempting to get to and our willingness to be open and honest and transparent regarding how we can disaggregate and filter data. So I'd ask him quickly to give some or show some of the functionality of this progress report that we are putting on display.
Thank you. She handed me the microphone. I thought maybe I was going to do a solo or something.
No.
I'm not singing.
No.
Your ears
Please.
will be safe. So whenever you pull a large amount of data, there is a need to balance two things. One is you want to provide enough data to where people can actually tear down to the root cause, but you also don't want to overwhelm and build that proverbial haystack around a needle that may not exist. And so we have that need for balance. So the design of this report card has that in mind. And so what you'll see is when you pull up, you do have, these are all the measures that require ongoing progress measures. So if we're talking about an outcome measure of FSA results, we want to monitor throughout the year various aspects of assessment, whether it be iReady, Achieve 3000, whether it's our own unit assessments. So on this main page, you might see kind of that 30,000 level view, 30,000 foot view, where it might just be overall how we are doing as a district. I'm going to use this early warning systems as an example. There are a few facets to this spreadsheet that will help understand where we are progress monitoring. You'll notice each of these, and this isn't completely built yet. Oops. There is a note here, there, that will be able to provide a little bit more detail. In education, we have a lot of acronyms, we have a lot of edu-speak that members of the community may or may not fully understand. So with these notes on these measures, we're going to be able to further explain maybe in a little bit more simpler or easier to understand language. And then also, while we might have this 30,000 foot view, we also want to be able to provide some opportunity to disaggregate that data across grade levels, across schools, across genders, across various subgroups, to be able to identify those root causes. And so you can see here, we present the data in a couple different formats, both visually. I'm very much a visual learner. My eyes are drawn to the pie graphs, but not everyone is like that. Some people prefer the table. Some people prefer the verbiage of explaining it. And so we want to try to balance each of those needs. So.
Thank you, Dr. McMahon. Absolutely, our desire is to continue to drill down, build out this progress report. So we're providing as much data in a easy to understand format. So excited about the opportunity to continue to build this platform so everyone fully understands at multiple levels within the organization where we are and the impact that we are having. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Moore. I can see Dr. Schiff has a question for Dr. McMahon.
It might be Dr. McMahon, it might be Dr.
Or
Moore. I'm not
let's-
really sure. It's not a hard question, promise.
It's definitely me.
And then- Where are we going to be able to find this? When does it go live? I know we don't have data yet, but you clicked and highlighted a few things I'd love to be able to see. How would I get to that? And it'll be under the equity page here.
We'll actually have as a monthly update to it, and we'll resave that monthly update each time. So you'll be able to go historically and see, as the year progresses, you'll be able to see August, September, October, and each month will be updated with the latest data. Not every data measure is going to be monitored monthly, so not everything is going to change monthly.
Can you turn your mic on?
Say the whole thing again.
No,
You're looking at him, he doesn't know, he just got here. You gotta turn the mic on.
I'm not used to giving solos, as you can see. It will be updated monthly. It will be on the website. We do not have the data, obviously, fully loaded there, pending the board approval for the plan.
And so, pending what I presume will be tonight's board approval, this will get loaded imminently, even though I know we're just starting to implement, so the data itself isn't there, but the benchmarks are, and the little notes and all that, and the pie charts and the whatever.
It will take time to build that out, but
Yeah.
in the next few weeks, you should see a live version go up.
So, Dr. Moore, when that does go live, can we get a notification of that so we can go look?
absolutely, through the chair, we'll have that updated. Also important to note, we're having workshops, we're calling it Diving into Data, which we're going to the Gifford Youth Achievement Center and having workshops as we grow this platform and this opportunity to understand data, continuing to go out and train and ensure people have a clear understanding as to how to manipulate and modify the platform that we're developing.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
You can't leave yet.
Are we going to Dr. Moore, and then he'll direct where the question goes? Go ahead.
What? What did you just say? I'm
Direct
sorry.
the question through Dr. Moore.
Dr. Moore, I noticed that this is in Excel. When people have access to it online, is this similar to having a Word document where you can actually manipulate it and change the data? Or is it set and they just click to view? How does that work?
Through the chair, it'd be set to view.
Click to view? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can protect it won't be a PDF, it will be an Excel document, but we can protect the sheet so that there is, we limit the cells in which they can actually access and manipulate. So some of the additional will be pivot tables drawing on data that's not being able to accessed by certain, by the public, but the view will be there, and we want them to be able to manipulate it and to look at school to school and grade levels and so forth. But we'll limit the cells to where they're not going to be able to adjust it themselves, the actual data.
Okay,
Interesting. Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Are we gonna, we have to vote, right? I mean,
Right.
we don't have a motion, so
Right.
move approval.
I'll second.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so we have Mrs. Justice with a motion. Who made the second?
I did.
Mrs. Barrenborg. All right, so we just had our discussion.
Well, I have.
Nope.
I didn't.
No, we didn't. Okay.
Have discussion. Thank you, Mrs.
Maybe
Zork.
I was hoping.
Sorry. Previously, when we met with Dr. Moxley and we were looking at this is a long time coming. So this is an exciting day. So thank you, Dr. Moore. Thank you to your team, Mrs. Dampier, all of the staff members that worked on this and have collaborated with community members through focus groups to bring us to this point, including the members of our joint equity plan. When Dr. Moxley discussed the African American Achievement Plan with us, I was hesitant to move forward because I knew that we would be having a new leader join the district, and I knew that things would be changing, and that we had an opportunity to possibly work with someone who would be able to innovate and redefine excellence for all students in Indian River County. And I'm just really excited today that we have the opportunity to do that. I know my other board members are probably going to share some other details about this plan that are important to them and that they're happy to see included. I just wanted to say thank you for being Best Buy Kids and making sure that we moved forward quickly with this, because it's important for students that we make sure we're taking care of their needs. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mrs. Barrenborg.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you for all the hard work. I appreciate the fact that we've gotten to this point, and as we discussed in great length today, so I don't want to rehash it all, we're not where we need to be yet, but I think we're moving in the right direction pretty quickly, so I appreciate all this hard work, because it looks like a lot of work has gone into this already. I appreciate the fact that you've gotten so much feedback and brought it to members of the community that needed to hear it and have input. So that is greatly appreciated, that you're going out and having all those town halls, and also the listening. And I think that's the important part, so thank you for doing that. And I look forward to seeing when the data comes in, what's going to happen, how it's going to change, so appreciate that.
Any other discussion? Go ahead.
Yeah, just briefly, I want, in addition to what's been said, and a bit of a reiteration, but to acknowledge, as I said this afternoon, this report, while not perfect, is light years ahead of what was brought to us in August. And I just really want to acknowledge how much went into doing that, because if you look at what this looks like now and what it looked like in August when it came to us, they are vastly different documents with vastly different information. And it's not nothing. And a bit of a shout out to Pinellas County, who through their Bridging the Gap program got us started on reinventing what that looked like for Indian River County. And in that, I just want to stress so that people know, we know this document isn't perfect. We know it doesn't have everything it yet needs to have. We also know and acknowledge that this is dynamic and evolving, and this is a starting point, not an ending point. So I just want to be clear as we move forward. We know that what we are approving tonight is not perfection. What we know is that we need to get it done, and as Dr. Moore has stressed a number of times, we need to approve this so that the district can get started implementing. I am well known for nitpicking on, wanting everything to be perfect in documents like this. That said, I'm really pleased to be able to approve this document tonight that is something that I can stand behind, which I could not do the last 2 or 3 times it was brought before the board. And I am immensely looking forward to our district getting started on the work, our commitment to this process, and to seeing the next iterations as we become leaders in how to do this work well. So,
Dr. Moore,
Thank you.
did you want to?
No, I'm just excited. This really is the opportunity, the first opportunity to move from planning and get into implementation. So I'm looking forward to continuing to feel this level of excitement and the acceleration that I know is going to take place as a result of the action that we have defined. So this is an exciting day for me. I know you all have thanked the team, but I should do that as well. Ms. Dampierre, Dr. McMahon, Chris Taylor, absolutely outstanding work. Each member of Mr. Meyer's team have led that work. Every name that is in that plan, everyone who sits in front of you really has contributed to putting together that document and taking ownership. Just saying, no, no, they wanted it a very specific way because they wanted to own it. And it was such a proud experience to be a part of moving through the first 2 months of the superintendency. So very excited to see that willingness, that coming together of a team, and knowing that we're going to have an outstanding result and impact for kids. Thank you.
sorry, can I respond to that for a sec? And I won't belabor it. But I also want to acknowledge the collaboration in that, because this work moved from a department and a team of one, Dr. Long, to a collaborative approach from all aspects of the district. So I don't want to leave out Dr. Long in our acknowledgments, and I want to also express, reiterate that as a district, how we move this or any work forward is when we come together, is when we collaborate across departments, across units, across people. So moving from a department of one person to how we put that throughout the district should not go without notice as well.
And you're right, and Dr. Long has a tremendous responsibility as we shift from putting checks in a box to evaluating impact in schools. Being in schools as just one of her many responsibilities, speaking to children, speaking to staff, not just saying, did we do the work, but looking for evidence of implementation. So it is a brand new angle of work that I'm charging her with that will really inform some of the decisions that we will make regarding the level of impact we are having. So I'm looking forward to establishing that new way of work as well, and really gaining insight regarding the outcomes that we are producing.
Okay. Mrs. Rosario.
Rather than, thanking everybody for putting this together, I think I don't want to say it's an understatement, but as I look out and I realize the leaders who got together to put this together are the same people that have been here for years past, with the exception of a new superintendent. So I'd just like to recognize the importance of good leadership. Without the vision of a good superintendent in the position in which where that person, the CEO, needs to charge those leaders who are leading the district under his supervision forth with a plan such as this, there really hasn't been much difference. How can I say? There hasn't been anything else different except for the leadership of our superintendent. Maybe that's how I want to word it. And so it is an understatement to say thank you to those who have put it together and those who have been here all along, who have had the ability to put this together, who have, I know in our private conversations, Dr. Moore has shared that we would be able to access the data, but I did not see this. We were not presented with this morning at today's workshop. And being able to see each cell or the cells that will be available to us where we can click the cells and see more of that information, minus picking up the phone and saying, hey, Dr. Moore, what does this mean? You know, we'll be able to access that. We and the community will be able to access that kind of information at home. It's quite different. And it actually, it's making me reflect on what made the difference. Why hasn't this been done before? When it's been the same people, the same staff members in the same positions. Nothing has changed except for you. So, I'm not trying to, to blow you up, except to say, that realistically, you have made a world of a difference in the very short time that you have been here. And I suppose my purpose of seeming like I'm babbling as I'm thinking through my words as I go along is really to say thank you for your leadership. I'm grateful that this board got together and really unanimously hired you for this position. In this very short period of time, we have come a very long way, and I can see the difference. I can see the difference. This is something that should have been done a long time ago, and it wasn't. And nothing has changed except for your leadership in this position. So with that said, I am very, very optimistic with what our future will hold with regard to equity. I'm very, very excited to see where our district is going to go. And with that, I will yield the rest of my time. So thank you, Dr. Moore, and thank you, everyone.
You're going to yield the rest of your time. I feel like I'm in the Senate.
I will, okay, let me rephrase. Shall I rephrase? Goodness
no.
grief.
I took your time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Through the chair, thank you for your kind words. As I told the principals last Thursday, as a leader, one of my charges is to take the authority that I have and give it away. Give it away.
Yeah, I like
Empower people to make decisions within the positions that they hold, define the positions, the decisions that they are charged to make. That's how large organizations are successful. And I can tell you the folks who sit in front of you as well as the ones who sit behind them are doing outstanding work. And the movement of this district will be because of their hard work, their commitment, their effort. And the same holds true at school sites. Setting an expectation is one thing. Making difficult decisions to stand behind those decisions isn't just done by one person. It's done across the organization. And that's an expectation that you all have set as a board. I am very excited to have the opportunity to lead such a quality team. And I've told the story a number of times. I won't tell it again. About the level of confidence I have regarding the success of this district as I'm in schools, in meeting with teachers, meeting with principals, the kind of heart that they have and their willingness to make difficult, bold decisions is so encouraging and so warming to my heart. So I'm looking forward to bringing more plans like this. I'm really looking forward to next board meeting where we have findings from our strategic plan and we really start to engage in where we're going as a district. So this is very, very exciting. This is step one, and thank you to my team.
Can I say one more thing?
Go ahead.
You know, Dr. Moore, when I was and everyone, when I was a teacher, I was an ESL teacher in the High School of Art and Design in Manhattan on 57th Street and 2nd Avenue. And I was given the task of coordinating ESOL testing. And in that position, I had an assistant principal that we kind of had a difference of opinion on different occasions.
Really?
Really?
Not guess.
Really? But the interesting part is that on many occasions, he would come in. He looked like Abraham Lincoln. He was very, very tall. He had that. So and I'll always remember, because on different occasions, he would come in and he would say, you know, you're really strong and you're very opinionated. He said, but I think that you would make a good administrator, school administrator. And that was the first time that I ever thought about being a school administrator, because prior to that, I already had my master's. Didn't even think. I said, never, ever, ever. And when he said it the first time, I just said, really? Like, I didn't think that he would say that. And it brought out this desire for me. It just birthed this new desire in me, because someone thought enough, despite our differences, someone thought enough to see some giftings in me. And when you just said, it's your job to give it away, it actually convicted me greatly, to the point that I want to apologize to the leaders who have been here in this district, because I have been in positions as a candidate and as a new board member to unfortunately maybe cast judgment on certain things that I probably should never have done, not knowing, right? Standing behind and understanding that it wasn't the positions or the people in those positions, but it was unfortunately probably the fact that they were not under good leadership that would engage and empower them to work to their giftings. And I see that now, because the positions never changed. You're different, and now I'm just having this incredible revelation right now. But I want to apologize to everyone who has been in your positions. You probably don't know thoughts that have gone through my head, but I'm feeling it now. And the work that sits before us in this African American Achievement Plan, I know Dr. Moore could not have written every single page of this on his own. And with everything else, there has to have been a team behind him under his leadership. So I just want to thank you all, and I'm sorry to everyone.
Wow, okay. So she yielded me her time and she took it back. But,
I took it back with a different purpose.
which was nice, and I appreciate that. That was worth yielding my time back to you. I just want to mention that for individuals, for you to go back to our workshop this afternoon. It was at 1 o'clock, and it's under the superintendent workshop. And the first item for presentations was the African American Achievement Plan. We had about an hour and a half presentation and discussion at that time. I would encourage individuals to go back at that time and watch that. All right, are we ready to approve?
Yes.
Ma'am. I move approval.
We already have it. See?
A second.
We've talked about this
We're
so
already in
much.
discussion.
We have Mrs. Justice with a motion, Mrs. Barrenborg with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. Thank you. All right, we are moving on. That was our one action item that we added from consent. Now we're going to move on to our public hearing and board approval of recommendations of instructional materials. Dr. Moore, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Recommended instruction materials for world language, computer science, career and technical education have been available for public review for at least 20 calendar days. As part of the instructional materials adoption process, the school board must receive public comment during public hearing and meeting in accordance with School Board Policy 0169.1, public participation. The Instructional Material Adoption Committee are recommending adoption of the materials on the attached list for the 2020-2021 school year. The instructional materials list represents the committee's selected materials for the course listed. These materials will assist teachers in providing standards-based instruction for district students. The cost of this adoption is approximately $503,646. The recommendation has been brought before the school board during the February 11th, 2020 school board workshop.
Thank you. This item deals with adoption of instructional materials for world language, computer science, career and technical education. Dr. Moore, have you documented that this public hearing was properly advertised in accordance with state statutes?
Through the chair, yes, ma'am.
Okay. We now recess this meeting to conduct the public hearing as advertised. The public hearing is now in recess. Dr. Moore, are there any written responses to the advertised public hearing to be read at this time?
Through the chair, no.
The public is invited to address this issue at this time. Do we have anyone that is an individual representing an organization or his or her own personal or public interest who wishes to speak? No? Nancy, do you want to?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'm just curious, was it appropriate to say that it was in recess? Okay, I just want to make sure. It just
What
didn't
did I
sound right.
say?
Okay.
Meeting is in recess.
Hearing was called to order.
Okay, I thought she said the public meeting was in recess. That's why I just want to make sure that we're correct. Okay.
You did, but we knew what you meant. But we don't need to say it again, right?
I just know it's a hearing, so I know we need to be very accurate with it.
Right. Which, it says to read the script, and that's what I'm doing right here. Okay, is there any individual representing an organization or his or her own personal or public interest who wishes to speak? And I'm seeing that there's none. The chair concludes that the announced public hearing on the adoptions of the instructional materials for world language, computer science, career and technical education has been conducted pursuant to notice, and that ample opportunity to address this issue has been provided to all. The board meeting is reconvened at this time. I need a motion for approval.
I'll second.
Mrs. Justice?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Zork. Instructional materials adoption is very interesting, and as a parent, it's an important part of what we do in the school district. This is an opportunity for community members, teachers to come together to review instructional materials, the books, the textbooks, the material that'll be used in classrooms to make the standards come alive. And so when we talk about local control over what we teach our students, this is a very, very important component of it. So as we move forward through this adoption and future adoptions, I hope that parents realize and community members realize you have an opportunity to come in, to review proposed textbooks, to see what the information is in the textbooks, how information is being presented. If you have a concern about the way history is being taught in our classrooms, you need to review the history books so you can see the resources that teachers have to use to be able to teach students. So again, when we talk to parents about local control, instructional materials that are being used in our classrooms are incredibly important. And so I just wanted to highlight that this is another opportunity for parents to get involved and engaged, and community members to get engaged in what's being taught in our classrooms. I did express some concern today about supplemental curriculum that is occasionally given by teachers in our schools, and I have questions what that process is. I will continue as a parent to question that process. Anything that's being given to our students for supplemental use in classrooms and learning should go through some type of a vetting process, whether that's grade level chair or department. I do not know, that is not my job, but I do hope that we are ensuring that everything that is being put in front of students for learning has been approved by the leadership in our school district. Thank you, Mrs. Zork.
Thank you. Mrs. Barrenborg?
No, thank you. It's been said.
Any other discussion to this? No. I do agree with Mrs. Justice on the supplemental materials. As a parent, I've experienced some materials that I've questioned, so I do agree with you on that. If anyone doesn't have any more items to discuss on this, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. Okay. We're going to move on to action agenda item C, public hearing on the new school board policy. Dr. Moore.
Thank you. On November 26, 2019, the school board business meeting, the district school board voted to hold a public hearing on new board policy and requested to move forward with the adoption process. The purpose of this policy is to be consistent with present practice and legislation. The public hearing and adoption was noticed for the business meeting on February 25th, 2020.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. This item deals with adoption a new school board policy. Dr. Moore, have you documented that the public hearing was properly advertised in accordance with state statutes?
Through the chair, yes.
Okay. We now recess this meeting to conduct the public hearing as advertised. The public hearing is now in session. Dr. Moore, are there any written responses to the advertised public hearing to be read at this time?
Through the chair, no.
The public is invited to address this issue at this time. Is there any individual representing an organization or his or her own personal or public interest who wishes to speak? The chair concludes that the announced public hearing on the adoption a new school board policy has been conducted pursuant to notice, and the ample opportunity to address this issue has been provided to all. The board meeting is reconvened at this time. I need a motion for approval.
I move a motion.
Ooh, Dr. Schiff and Mrs. Rosario. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Go for it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got that.
I'm sorry.
I could not be more delighted at this moment. I am proud of this board for supporting this policy. I am proud that this policy comes forward on a night when day when we have had extensive discussion about moving equity forward in this district. This is a strong policy. And after we vote on it, I would actually like to read into the record a couple of sections of it, but I will do that after the vote if I may. I want to thank my fellow board members. I want to thank also Dr. Moxley, who worked on this, who at my request brought this forward. We got to work on the language of this together. I am incredibly grateful to her and her leadership while she was here, and to Dr. Moore for taking the mantle and the helm after that. And I thank my fellow board members for what I anticipate will be, though it has not yet happened, a positive vote, and your commitment to moving this issue forward in this district. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Rosario.
Yes, I wanted to thank Dr. Schiff for bringing this forward. I actually, for those who sit in their car and listen to the live meetings and don't have access immediately to pick it up, I actually wanted to read the purpose of it, and I know that you said that you were going to read.
do it after. I was going to wait till after we voted.
I won't.
Something
I'll
I've
let you
actually
read it
asked.
because this came from you. But it is incredibly important, and I am very happy to support this policy. Again, it's one of those things that is long overdue. And with regard to the equity in this committee, it could not have been brought forth at a better time than us approving the African American Achievement Plan tonight. It just fits perfectly with where we are right now moving forward. So thank you, Dr. Schiff.
Any other discussion?
I'd just like to say thank you as well.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Schiff, for bringing this forward. Thank you to Dr. Moore for ensuring that we come to a vote on this tonight. I see this as a step to be able to ensure that we are truly unfolding the full potential of every student that we have in our classrooms. And I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful for our parents and our students for that.
I agree. Okay. With that, we're going to vote. You said you wanted to read into the
I
record?
thought I would do it after we voted, once it was officially policy. It's not policy till we vote.
That's a good point.
Okay. All right. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. Go ahead.
Okay, now can I do that?
You can.
Now that it's official policy, I want to read a few things into the record, and for those who may or may not access the actual document, because this is a strong policy with some strong language. I am really proud of this board for taking this on, and I want to read some of that language into the record. The purpose of this policy: Indian River County School Board students deserve respectful learning environments in which their racial and ethnic diversity is valued and contributes to successful academic outcomes. This policy confronts the institutional racism that results in predictably lower academic achievement for students of color than for their white peers. Understanding and addressing institutional racism will increase achievement, including on-time graduation for all students, while narrowing the gaps between the highest and lowest performing students. The school board acknowledges that complex societal and historical factors contribute to inequities within school districts. The school board must provide all students with support and opportunity to succeed. And I want to read a couple of other things in this policy. I'm not going to belabor it because it is getting late, but I kind of, on this issue, don't care so much that it's getting late, so I'm sorry I'm going to keep you for a little bit longer. In this policy, we will specifically address eliminating systemic disparities. To interrupt systems that perpetuate inequities, the superintendent shall, A, invite and include people from all races and ethnicities to examine issues and find adaptive solutions which address the root causes and systems rather than technical solutions which provide one-time situational fixes. B, develop the personal, professional, and organizational skills and knowledge of its employees to enable them to address the role and presence of racism. And C, eliminate practices that result in lower academic achievement for any student racial group compared to peers. Ensure systemic equity. The superintendent, and I am particularly fond of this. I'm not going to read the whole policy, don't worry. The superintendent shall lead from a system-wide racial equity lens that stands on the following areas: family, student and community engagement, leadership, and teaching and learning. In leadership, school board leaders will ensure that racial equity guides employees' actions and leads to improved academic results. In teaching and learning, the school board employees will work together to increase their individual and collective capacity to effectively teach a racially and ethnically diverse and changing student population. And in implementation and monitoring, the school board directs the superintendent to implement and monitor diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in all district outcomes. And the evidence for that is the policy we just passed on the African American Achievement Report, which will be the guiding document also for the joint plan that will finally, after 52 years, finally start moving us out from underneath this desegregation order. It's about time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I get a little passionate about this.
I can see that. All right, thank you for that. We're going to move on to the superintendent's report.
Through the chair, thank you. Just some quick updates regarding opportunities to connect and engage over the course of the coming month. As mentioned earlier, on March 2nd, we will be at the Gifford Youth Achievement Center, where taking the Dr. McMahon show on the road, speaking through opportunities to understand our data platforms. On the 27th of this month, kind of going backwards, I'll be holding my Superintendent's ESE Advisory Panel. That was a commitment I made to the community, really to begin a conversation around opportunities to improve support and services for our district's most fragile students. March 2nd through the 6th, we will kick off Say Something Week, in which our schools will be participating in programming around Start With Hello and Say Something, two very important initiatives to empower students to ensure that no one is alone in our schools and social isolation isn't something that's breeding within our schools, and that students are empowered when they see something of concern. They know where to go and say something in order to eliminate situations that were discussed by students just under an hour ago. Those are opportunities for us to empower students so we can support them in eliminating those kinds of problems. On March 10th, we will have the opportunity in our next board meeting for me to present the findings of Phase 2 of the 90-day plan, the listening and learning segment. Very excited about that presentation as we will begin from transitioning from the listening and learning and moving into the action. I will then, the following week on March 14th and then again on the 17th, take that presentation into the community once at Sebastian River High School on the 14th, and then on the 17th, on the 17th at Vero Beach High School, and then on the 19th at Sebastian River High School to give that presentation to ensure everyone has the opportunity, regardless of where they live, to hear what we have learned collectively and be informed regarding where we are moving as a district. And also on March 14th this year from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock, we will be having our School Choice Expo. Additional information, keep on our webpage and social media to hear more information about that. We will once again have a presentation on March 10th during our board meeting highlighting the programming and choice initiatives that each of our regular neighborhood schools, our choice schools, are developing leading into the 14th. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so we're going to move into discussion. We had one item that Mrs. Berenborg had requested that we discuss, and it was to set a date for the affordable workforce housing.
Okay, workforce housing. It was affordable housing, then it became workforce housing. So
and I
now it's
wanna actually
affordable
suggest
workforce housing. I love it.
I want to suggest another edit to it.
Okay.
Housing and home ownership. I wanted to bring another side to this, because as we talk about workforce housing, home ownership is an important, there are many studies that show that home ownership increases volunteerism, reduces crime in areas. And in looking at retaining teachers, if we're attracting people to move here, I've been looking at this issue, and I'm sorry, Mrs. Berenborg, I'd like to speak about it, but I know this, you put this on for discussion, so may I continue, or? May I share? So after our last discussion, when you brought this up, I had some thoughts about workforce housing, affordable housing, and I've been doing research. And when we look at attracting teachers to move here, in looking at opportunities for there to be affordable places to live, not only do we want teachers to move here, but we want them to invest in our community. We want them to buy houses, to have children, to give back to their community, if they're paying taxes, those taxes go back into our community. So all of those things are really important, and I think it would aid us when I look at different things that places have done around the country, to not only talk about housing, but let's talk about home ownership and how we work as a community. That means lending institutions, the school district, businesses. How do we increase home ownership so that not only do we attract teachers here, but we attract new community members here? That was just something that when you said about the title, I just wanted to add that, and I'd like to see if we could help to make that part of the conversation.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. So what I wanted to do is, there's a couple of items that I want you to have ahead of time so that you're familiar with them. One being, and thank you to Mr. Gresta, School Board Policy Number 9140. So Nancy, if you could add that to when we decide to discuss this. That is our policy on how to create a committee. And then the other one is Florida Statute 1001.43, which is on affordable housing. That's the terminology that they use, so we're going to use it for that. But I agree with you. I think what we need to do, because I thank all my board members for saying, I think this is needed for a further discussion. I think what you just said is great for us to talk about, because I'm sure we each have something of value to bring to this discussion. So maybe we can go into further conversation about that when we have a conversation about the committee. So I looked at the calendar. I discussed with Nancy what's a best date to look at, knowing that the superintendent also has some things that he possibly might want to put on a agenda for discussion in a work setting. Possibly March 3rd. And that is a Tuesday. Would that be fine with my fellow board members?
I'm good with it.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer yet.
Okay.
From what time, what do you?
I don't know.
Oh.
We can decide the time. 10 o'clock in the morning?
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
Who are you looking at inviting to this?
Just us right now.
Just us,
So what
okay.
we need to do is discuss the parameters. Here's kind of what my thoughts. We need to discuss the school board policy on how we create the committee. We want to look at the Florida statute on affordable housing. And then we also want to, have a discussion about, I think, goals that we want for this committee to do. If you look at the school board policy, we need to be kind of clear with what that committee is being tasked to do. I do have some ideas. I met with Dr. Moore about it. He has some really great ideas about kind of what those goals are, although I think it evolves all the time. Every time he pulls me aside in a little conversation, there's something new that's coming. So I think it'll be a really good conversation for us all to have.
What's the time frame you're looking at, 10 to 1?
I don't know, how long do you think this conversation is going to occur with us?
Maybe 2 hours, right?
Possibly, yes.
10 to 12.
Yeah.
I'm good
I
with
know that Dr. Moore might have some things also that,
What time did you say, 10 o'clock?
yeah,
That works.
that works?
10 to
Okay.
12.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
In case he needs to add something else, you might want to leave another hour after that, I'm not sure.
No.
Do we have,
Okay. Okay, so at that time, bring your ideas, look at those two things. I'll ask Nancy to send those to us so that you kind of have it ahead of time as to what rules we have to follow and, what the guidelines are for us.
let me ask, 7-day notice on this.
Yes,
Do we have time?
believe so, right? Didn't we discuss that?
Oh, no, it's next week,
Oh, it is next week.
March 3rd. So
Oh, it is. So we can't have it next. Come on, Nancy, let's go.
today, but today has today technically passed or no?
Is it 7 days? 7 business
Still
days?
today, I think. I didn't miss
7
it.
business days, it doesn't
Mrs.
make.
DeAgresta, is it 7
Makes
business
seven.
days?
I thought your policy said 7 days. Let me pull it up.
Nancy, no, 7 days. 7 days.
Is it, the technicalities, it has to complete 7 days or be on the 7th day?
She's going to look it up.
It's 7 days' notice. But let me pull up the policy.
Let's check that.
But maybe our talking about it now can make it official.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
No?
Oh, well.
That was the first time I've ever heard you speak quite like that.
No.
I wasn't speaking to the microphone.
I know.
Let's let Nancy
That was a
look,
blooper?
I'm sorry, let's let Mrs. DeAgresta look that up, and then, so what you were saying, Mrs. Barrenborg?
Either the 3rd or then I guess the next date would be the 17th.
Okay.
We
But
can
on
all wear
this-
green and talk about it.
Okay.
That's spring break.
Oh, it's spring
No,
break.
following
How's the 3rd looking?
No, the following
Following
week
week
is
is
spring
spring
break.
break.
The 17th would work.
March 14th, March 24th, she said.
I wouldn't
No,
mind.
it's
March
17th.
17th.
If only because it would give us a little bit more time to be able to gather some materials. And there are some materials that I'd like to bring when we sit down and talk. So if it would be okay with you, I wouldn't mind giving us a little additional time.
The only reason why we looked at possibly the 3rd also is because if you noticed today that in the African American plan, it talked about forming this committee and having this committee. So knowing that he's going to move on this plan, I want to be able to help support the plan moving forward and having the committee
That's
in
a
place.
great, so do you see any issue with the 17th? Would you rather it be the 3rd? Does it affect the African American?
Well,
issue?
we gotta wait for the policy first.
The 17th will work. The concern is, can we get it posted? I think the answer is,
Posted, yeah, for the
First, let's see
17th,
what she
but
says. What does she
third.
say about the policy?
The policy just simply says 7 days, so we don't have to, it's calendar days. So weekends count.
So then the question is it on the 7th day counts as 7 days, or does it have to be 7 complete days, and you can have it on the 8th day after the 7th?
No, just 7 days. We can have it on the 7th day.
Out of
So
the
if we
mouth of our
post it
attorney.
tonight, it would be okay.
and we'll post a very straightforward agenda that allows us to have that dialogue on the 10th.
But
It's up to you guys. I'm
On
fine with
third.
I'm
either
good
date.
either way.
Third.
Yeah, it's fine, but if Mrs. Justice says there are materials she,
No,
or if there's other things that we think additional time would allow for, I don't want to
No, I'll just work faster and
Can I-
harder. I'm fine with that.
Can I make a suggestion? Can we just go with March 17th, because I don't want any questions on
There you go.
Notice?
That's
the
fine.
notice.
That's
I
fine.
don't want any clouds on it.
Yeah, we don't.
That's fine.
Yeah. Is everybody okay, 10 to 12 on the 17th? Okay.
The
So-
only other reason why I thought of the
Yeah.
3rd is because I noticed that on the meeting of the 10th, or we have training that day, and he has a very busy schedule that evening. And if there was something that he needed us to talk about in a work setting, that he could add that out an hour onto that 3rd meeting. But if that's fine, if he wants to just go for it on the 10th and
Right.
busy.
Well, actually, we would have had to post that on the agenda, I would think.
Oh, that's
If
true.
we're going to let
Yeah.
him speak on something.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and put March 17th, 10 to 12. I think sounds good. And I think that works out. The Economic Development Council is going to be meeting at 3:30 that day, and they're also going to be having a presentation. And I was going to bring that up, but now's the time to bring it up, that they're going to have a presentation that was given to the county commission on the committee that they had put together for, they actually used the word affordable housing.
Yeah, I sat in on the
So,
committee meeting.
I would request that board members attend that, because I think there's gonna be a lot of information that's gonna be given in that, and that is gonna be on March 17th also. All right, is that it? Okay, we're gonna move on over to school board member matters. Do you like this one?
Sure.
Mrs. Justice?
Thank you very much, Mrs. Sork. This morning, I had the opportunity to attend the county commission meeting, and I want to let board members know that I did speak at that meeting this morning. I made clear to make sure everyone knew that I was speaking as Tiffany Justice. I am a school board member. I did speak as a school board member, but I did not represent the school district or my other school board members in my comments. Today, for discussion at the County Commission meeting, there was a workshop regarding a proposed Children's Trust millage. I just want to take a second and say thank you to the nonprofits that attended and the many community members that attended and advocated for our children in our community. It was really amazing, and we live in such a special place with so many amazing nonprofits who do some extraordinary work. I spoke on behalf of the increase to the Children's Services Advisory Council almost 5 years ago, advocating for our students and families then. Today, my purpose was a little bit different. The County Commission is considering adding a millage to the November ballot that would, they've been asked to add a millage that would provide for a children's trust, sustainable funding for many different programs in our community. And while I think that in many ways could be a very good thing for our community, there are other things that trouble me about it. First, really, is the fact that the school district's millage is expiring. And I wanted to make sure when the county commission weighed their decision about putting an additional referendum on the ballot for an additional millage, which is a tax on our community members, that they were aware that we had had discussions about putting a millage, about renewing our millage or putting a millage on the ballot. I don't like the word renewing. I try not to say it because it's new every time. And when you're asking taxpayers for additional money out of their pockets that may make a difference in the groceries that they buy, whether they attend to the doctor, this is important, and it's something we need to take very, very seriously. The voters of Indian River County have supported the school district overwhelmingly in the past with our millages that we've requested funding for. And in the discussions that we've had as the school board and in watching other districts around the state, including our neighbors to the north and south, and the decisions they've made regarding referendums, asking their voters for additional money, many of those districts have asked for increased teacher compensation. When the legislature gives us additional money to spend in our schools, it is often earmarked money. Money that is categorical in nature, money for mental health services, or money for safety improvements. But not often are we given money that is discretionary money that we can choose to spend. So school districts often struggle with teacher compensation. I'm happy to see that the governor and the legislature is looking at teacher compensation. Today it was suggested that some politicians in the room should take some credit for some of the good things that have happened in our schools regarding student achievement and the role that CSAC funding has played in that. And I wanted to make it very clear to the county commission and every other person in that room that the people that should be taking credit for that work is our teachers. And that's my opinion, and I shared that this morning. I was proud to be able to advocate this morning for this school district and for our teachers and teacher compensation. There's a very good and real possibility that 2 referendums go on the ballot and neither passes. And if we need to increase teacher compensation, which is something that I think we are going to need to do in order to stay competitive and to compensate our teachers fairly for the work that they do in changing the lives of students, we are going to need to address teacher compensation. Dr. Moore and I had a conversation about teacher compensation, and he said, you know, you can hold your breath and be in Fort Pierce. And he's not wrong. It's true. Our teachers have many options on where they teach, and I want the best teachers in front of our students. As a parent, I want that. I want that for other families. I want that for our children. So I spoke today. I shared some of the thoughts that we had discussed at times with the private conversations I've had with the superintendent, with teachers, with other school board members around the state. Just to be very mindful as we move forward with putting millages on the ballot. Again, we have been very lucky. The school district of Indian River County and our community members have supported us in the past overwhelmingly. And I hope that if we go out for another millage asking for additional taxpayer funds, that they will continue to support us. We have not made a decision about what we would go out in a millage to ask for. But I'm paying attention to other districts around the state, and I'm paying attention to our neighbors, and we need to be competitive. So I did take it upon myself to speak. I wanted to share that with my other board members. I hope you take the opportunity to watch what I said. If you have any concerns, please bring it up during a discussion session. I'm more than happy to discuss it, but I wanted to share that during my board member matters today. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Go ahead.
Next?
Yeah.
Okay. The Value Adjustment Board meeting that I am a member of was supposed to have our final meeting yesterday. It was canceled, and they're going to reschedule probably after April, so I don't have anything to report there. I wanted to officially welcome Mr. Meyer and Mr. Bass. We have a full cabinet here, or rather Dr. Moore has a full cabinet, and I am very happy to see everyone in their place, in their positions. For those who are just tuning in, Mr. Meyer is our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction. Mrs. Dampierre is now the Assistant Superintendent of Strategic Planning and Support Services. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
And Mr. Bass is our Deputy Superintendent in the district. And of course, we still have Mr. Teskey as Assistant Superintendent of Operations. Mrs. Maddox is our Public Information Officer. And of course, Mr. Fagan, our Chief Financial Officer. So I'm very happy, Dr. Moore, that you have a well put together cabinet of highly effective leaders to lead the charge of moving our district forward. So I'm excited about that. Welcome to you, to the both of you, and we're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
On Monday, March 2nd, just wanted to share that it will be National Read Across America Day, and there are different activities going on in different schools all across our district, but it's also Dr. Seuss Day, Dr. Seuss's birthday. So please be sure to eat green eggs and ham. Or engage in whatever is happening across the district, but more importantly, for the parents that are watching, not just on Monday, but every day, please read to your children. We have, let me see, Choice Fair, okay, STEAM Fest. I know we still have a few months before it happens. Dr. Moore, I'm not sure if you were here when I last mentioned STEAM Fest at all. It is coming up Saturday, April 18th. It is a local event put together by a small cooperative, Vero Beach Academy, and they do an amazing job. They put it together at the IG Center. I've mentioned it. I've gone for the last couple of years. It's wonderful. There are over 50 vendors and presentations and so all around, of course, science, engineering, technology, arts, math, creations, innovations, lots of different wonderful, wonderful hands-on things for kids. So I highly suggest and encourage. Last year, some of our schools participated in this, Dr. Moore. I hope this year we have more schools participating. We had wonderful, wonderful presentations and cars built and racing stuff and all kinds of little things that the schools put on, and the kids were actually there with their teachers presenting it, so it was a lot of fun. So I hope that we have a bigger turnout this year with that. And Dr. Moore, I just wanted to verify what you mentioned about the School Choice Expo next month. I'm not sure if you mentioned the location. Is it still at the IG Center?
Yes.
It's not here. So
No,
for those
IG
who
Center.
are, I know it's online as the IG Center, but when you mentioned it, I didn't
IG
quite
Center,
get the.
it is,
okay.
I neglected to
Okay,
mention it.
perfect. And that is all I have.
Mrs. Berenborg?
Sure. I'd like to say welcome as well. It's very nice to see all of you, and we appreciate the fact that when someone comes to the podium, the superintendent asks you to go speak to them right then and take care of it. So it's really nice to see that initiative. 3 things. Thank you to Dr. Moore for going out into the community and speaking over and over and over again, and thank you to my fellow board members for going and supporting that. I know we were all at Gifford Youth Activities Center when you spoke to the community there, and you weren't there? I'm sorry. 4 of us were there, and it was wonderful to be able to see how many people came out and were really interested in participating and asking good questions. So I appreciate you keep doing that, and I think that's the best thing that our community needs right now is that communication, the ability to speak and be listened to. So appreciate that. I attended the Elks Award ceremony that was last week, and it's a writing contest where our kids can participate. And the writing this year was What Freedom Means to Me. There were only 3 schools, I think, that were represented there, and I could be wrong, but it was Storm Grove, Rosewood, and Osceola. The kids that were there, not only was a nice little ceremony and they got awards, but they also got money, $25, $50, and $100. And then an attorney stood up, Buck Fosell, and said on behalf of his firm, he was giving the kids an extra $100 each. Oh, nice. So it was really nice to see that, and what lesson do kids learn? Hey, writing pays off. So it would be nice to see if we got more schools involved in that and things like that. I know it's hard. It really is hard to do all these poster contests and essay contests and everything else. But you pick and choose, and that was a worthy one, I thought. And I went last year as well, but I showed up at the very end. I had the wrong time. But this year I got there early, so it was great. And then I will be sending you an email out. I have 3 more to update, 3 more bills, but out of the many, many bills that are going on the floor and everything else, I wanted to send you another tally update. So you'll be getting an email from Nancy, probably tonight or tomorrow, with, I had 3 more to update that I didn't get done today, although the House is in session tomorrow and the next day, so the updates will happen all over again after that. But you'll see how many are starting to turn, I color-coded it. Yellow are the ones that are moving through committees. Green are the ones that have already hit the House floor. And you'll see if they hit the House floor, look and see if I have red underneath, because that says that the House passed it or the Senate passed it. And right now, nothing in education bills that I'm tracking has passed in the Senate, but there are some that are close. So just to keep an eye on what's moving and what's not. Okay? That's all I have.
Yeah, a couple things. Yeah, thanks for mentioning the GYAC thing. That was on my list. Thanks for the work with the legislative stuff and the color coding and all of that, because as someone not as adept at that, it's helpful to have a roadmap. So thanks for that. I've done a lot. On February 19th, I actually went down to Miami. Yes, I hate that drive. I will never do it again, Dr. Moore. For the Secret Service National Threat Assessment Center's briefing on school safety, which was really interesting. I met a mother of a child who was killed at Sandy Hook, who has started a foundation in response to that. I met and spoke with our the Tallahassee Department of Ed new head of Safe Schools, who is well known to Mr. Teskey and knows Indian River County well. Really interesting briefing, some of it helpful, some of it not. I brought materials back from that, which I gave to Dr. Moore, who will either has or may pass on to Mr. Teskey. But in our ongoing attention to school safety, it behooves us to know what's happening nationally. Happy to share more about that at some other time, but I don't want to take the time now. February 21st, I went to the Student Art Show opening at the mall, which was just wonderful to see all our kids' art from elementary through high school. I have a few pictures, haven't posted them. Want to acknowledge that while we're talking about Technical and Career Month, it's also Black History Month, and I want to acknowledge that just this past week, it was on our webpage, but Katherine Johnson, the incredible woman who helped do the NASA coding to land people on the moon. I want to acknowledge both her life and her passing last week. She died last week at 101 years old. I have been posting, not every day because I miss some days, but some acknowledgement of our African-American heroes on my Facebook page. So I encourage anyone who just sort of wants to keep up with who I happen to highlight that day. And then also, I just got back today from the Equality Florida Conference in St. Pete, all together now. And was really honored to be invited to participate in that conference. And really want to stress my commitment and hopefully our commitment. Again, as Mrs. Justice said, I go as myself, but also as somebody who sits on this board. All means all. All means all in our kids. And we talked today about perhaps, I can't say we're going to rename that office. I don't know what we're going to do. But when we talk about equity, we also talk about inclusion. And when you hear the stories and the realities and the issues of our LGBTQ students, it is impossible for us to not be moved. I have many friends who have gone through that as youth. They're your children, they're my children, they're our children. We are as responsible for the safety of those children as we are for every child in this district. And I was frankly deeply honored to be able to represent our county in acknowledging what I hope to be our commitment moving forward to honoring the voice, the reality, the presence that every child in this county is seen, is heard, gets a voice, and is safe. First and foremost, is safe. We do harm when we don't acknowledge that. We do harm when we don't acknowledge the realities of different students and their experiences in this district, and when we stifle those voices. And I have been around many friends who have had that experience as youth. And I want to acknowledge that as we finally get moving on out of this 52-year-old desegregation order that I believe, and it has been cited elsewhere, that LGBTQ rights are the civil rights issue of our decade, and please let it not take us 52 years to do the right thing by our students. And that's it. That's all I got. Thank you.
Okay. I want to, I did go to the Economic Development Council meeting, and I've already brought up that March 17th, they're going to be talking about the affordable housing, so please, please join us at that, and I'll send that information over to Nancy so she can get that to you. Another project I've been working on is, as chair, I'm the chair of the Agnes Peebles Memorial Scholarship. I just want to remind individuals, and I know, I don't know how many people are going to be watching the entire board meeting, but I would love to get out the information about the Agnes Peebles Scholarship, because if you don't mind, I would like to read the short blurb that went along with the trust at the time. It says, a written trust agreement was established in 1953 by Elizabeth Peebles, who is actually the daughter-in-law of Agnes Peebles, and that's how it got the name. And at the time in 1953, the trust stated, the purpose of the scholarship is for a female graduate of a high school in Indian River County to attend a 4-year university under the supervision of the Florida Department of Education. The student does not have to be a recent graduate, but must be a graduate of a high school in Indian River County, public or private. The selection is based on financial need, plus the desire for a university education. The student does not have to be an A student or the president of her class. Scholarship amounts will vary depending on the available funds, and note that this scholarship will continue every year for a 4-year bachelor's degree program as long as the student maintains a C grade in each class at the university and is enrolled as a full-time student. Last year, the committee was able to give over $120,000 to our local females, and I just really encourage our teachers in the room and our principals that might be listening to encourage your senior females to apply for this, because as it says here, it's based on need, and you do not have to be a perfect student to receive these funds. So I wanted to mention that tonight. Good meeting today over at the County Commission. It's a very important meeting. I had Nancy earlier. I sent her the link for the actual discussion of the workshop so that board members can see the entire discussion. It's actually something that I appreciate Dr. Moore and Mr. Fagan and Mr. Bass for coming and being there, because I think it was important for the presence of the school district to be there for that conversation. It did go longer than we had anticipated, I think, but I think it was very valuable that we were there, and I appreciate Mrs. Justice for coming also. So I encourage you to look into that, because there are some points that were brought up that what I'm reading is, it looks like that is going to possibly approve for the November ballot. Typically, our millage that we go out for is in August, and this is not something that we want to be on a them or us. It really needs to be all of us who are looking at, we shouldn't be competing, accept their millage or accept the school district millage for the things that we know that we need to do. And as Mrs. Justice said, sounds like you're having the same conversations with the superintendent as one thing that I really want this new millage that we have going out for the school district is we have to look at providing something additional for our teachers. And looking at our budget, the only way that we all, and I think I can speak here for all of us, looking at our tight budget, the only way that we can really have those additional funds would be through a millage. And so it would be very unfortunate if our millage didn't get passed because there's another millage. So I don't think that's going to be the case, because I'm hoping that we can go on the August ballot. And but it's an important conversation for us to stay a part of. I went to a lot of meetings, so I'm not going to belabor that, and I'm not going to bore you with me going to all the meetings that I've attended.
Minister, may I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say, when I started as a board member, it was, and all board members bring different things to the, in their work. However, some of the board members that I served with before didn't always attend a lot of things happening around the county. And so I would find myself out at things, but I would be alone a lot, which was okay. I didn't mind it, and I loved doing it, and it was fun. But I just want to say, as a board member, thank you to my fellow board members, because you guys go to so much stuff, and it's so nice, because there are times when, as a mom, I just have to stay home with my kids and make sure they get their homework done, right? Or I need to tuck some kids in bed, right? And and that's my primary job as a person in this community, as a mother. So it's just great to work with a team of people that are out there supporting kids, and I know when my fellow board members are there, that they're representing the entire board, and I just want to say thank you for that.
Mrs. Zork, one quick thing. I did go to something that I think is unique and that I would love for you guys to see, and that is Ben Franklin, who came alive in a couple of our classes. He came back to life, and he's
I've seen it.
yeah, he's amazing. He is on a computer, and he actually can talk to the kids, and he actually sees them through the camera, so the kids think he's actually talking to them. So it's very unique and very interesting. It got picked up by the news stations, and now there are lots of teachers that are making inquiries about
They
Ben
ask
Franklin.
Ben Franklin very interesting questions sometimes.
Yes, they do.
Students, especially the kindergarten.
How many children did he have? That came up a lot.
I've heard more interesting
He had a
questions
lot
than
of
that.
kids, by the way.
Welcome to our new,
3.
and thank goodness your titles are there, because I'm still getting them right. Deputy Superintendent Scott Bass, I'm sure it's probably different setting on that side as you're coming in from being a superintendent yourself, so. Yeah. And we have Richard Myers, so thank you for being here. And obviously, we appreciate our assistant superintendents and our cabinet that we have, that you've joined. Dr. Moore, superintendent closing.
I will be brief. A long day of intense dialogue, meaningful dialogue, and as a result of your willingness and commitment to have that dialogue, our school system is better today. So thank each and every single one of you for your passion and commitment in doing this work, and looking forward to continuing to move us forward as a district collectively. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So we're going to adjourn at 8:39.